So guys, let's kick off. Basically, this is where I do the whole vision thing of why on earth I set this up to have something to do on a Sunday evening, of course. Because I am, I'm a Twitter nut at the end of the day, and I do think there's a positive side of Twitter. I mean, just thinking about the American elections not that long ago, and the Tier 4 announcement yesterday, the one place it felt weirdly safe and warm to be was Twitter, because people are making light of it, people are chipping in, the whole range of emotions really. But when I look at my Twitter feed, I want to engage with it in a different way. I want to tweet people and I want to engage people virtually on Twitter, but I want to discuss it as well. So the whole idea of Let's Kill Twitter is detox the art of conversation, which is what we're hopefully all about doing tonight. Do you want to fill in from this?
Thank you, Julian. Thank you. Yeah, my name's Shazia, and basically Julian asked me to join because actually my first love on social media is actually Facebook. So it's kind of I feel somehow like I've got a win by we're live streaming on Facebook about a Twitter feed. So because they're all but interrelated and linked, I think. Almost like family over at Christmas. I think like Facebook is my close family, and Instagram is like kind of slightly distant family, and Twitter can be sometimes family that I love and hate. So like I love it those. So what have you been up to this week? Because obviously we always do a little catch up, and I'd like to know what you've been up to this week, Julian.
I don't think I can remember. This is the thing about the news agenda at the moment, is that it's literally you just at day one at every moment sort of catches you off guard. I mean, all I can think about now is Tier 4 and having some idea that Christmas was going to be chaos, but not quite expecting the Saturday press conference. I know that basically Boris was just crossing his fingers and thinking, let's get through this on Tier 3, and then the game was up, and here we are looking at, well, possibly till the end of January, or no, sorry, even to the spring, because if we're looking at what's being said, we're looking at the possibility of not getting out of Tier 4 until there's been enough vaccinations. So
that's been your week, has that? That's been what's preoccupying your whole week. I had expected you to say, "Oh, I've been for a walk and I've done some nice things and I've sent some."
Yeah, it's all irrelevant
Christmas
now.
cards.
No, don't. I mean, this is the thing. The massive slight irony of this is I hate Christmas. I'm sorry. You're wearing the humbug hat, but humbug is written across my heart. I really don't care about Christmas. This is almost the perfect Christmas.
Right.
But,
no, I'm wearing the humbug hat because
in a very imperfect way.
It's more to do with the bar humbug that I can't believe, as someone from a Muslim origin, is actually the most pissed off that we aren't going to be having a Christmas this year with our families, because I think we should bring. Hello there, Erica. Hello, welcome. Hello, Falungi. How are you? By the way, we also live streaming. I should just say, if you're joining us live streaming, I'm going to be posting on Facebook. If you can share it in your Facebook, that'd be great. But I don't know, before we start, we've just made the fatal error of not actually introducing our beautiful guests that we've got today. So do we do one each up?
Well, no, absolutely. I'll just exchange the pleasantries, and oh, hang on, let's admit another punter. There we go. It's all racking in now. So yeah, we're very, very pleased to be joined by Leo Kearse and Shazia Mirza today. Leo, a former Scottish Comedian of the Year and pun champion, UK pun champion, and also a writer on Mock the Week and the MASH Report, amongst many others. And Shazia, many people will know, I mean, honestly, like reading your TV credits, Shazia, it's a bit like reading the Radio Times. Remember that, people? Appearances include The Jonathan Ross Show, Celebrity Island with Bear Grylls, Top Gear, The One Show, and QI, and many other radio credits as well, including Loose Ends and The Now Show. And you're hoping to go on tour next year as well, aren't you, Shazia?
Well, I was hoping to, and well, if the world doesn't end, I shall go on tour, even if it's my living room. I will go on tour. I mean, I was meant to go on tour this year from March to July, And then they rearranged the dates so that it would happen in January, but then all the January dates have been cancelled. So maybe I might go on tour February 2026.
Oh wow, okay. Leaving it nice and open. Is that when all the vaccinations will be done then? So basically what's happening.
What about you, Leo? Are you planning on touring next year? No, because I know you do a lot of overseas gigs. For those of us listening in, I know I'm always very jealous of your timeline. Not only do I just get like, what? And then for myself, agree with some of your stuff, what? And get even more angry with myself. And I think, oh my God, I'm so jealous of his life because he's got like abroad all the time.
Yeah.
Are you planning to go back to overseas gigs next year?
Yeah, totally. I've already done some. I was out in Dubai in August. So
Wow.
basically, anytime they'll sort of let me get on a plane, I'll go on a plane because a lot of countries aren't being total pussies like we are in the UK, and they're being like, yeah, there's coronavirus, but let's still continue doing stuff, which is a good attitude to have. So yeah, I've still been doing gigs, and I was booked for Switzerland. That one actually got cancelled, but Dubai was wicked. It was like proper gigs.
Are you not doing because I know Shazia goes abroad as well, but are you guys not having trouble? I mean, because there's all this talk about you're going to have to self-isolate for 2 weeks if you go anywhere. How are you getting away doing like gigs overseas?
Oh, you're supposed to quarantine.
Okay, you are. All right, brilliant.
So you just like I don't know, like I don't know. I don't take coronavirus very seriously. I don't think it's that much of a. I'm not going to meeting any old people. Like I don't want to meet any old people anyway, or vulnerable people. As a right-wing person, you know, I was kind of hoping the Tories were going to do coronavirus's job for me. And I'm disappointed that the Tories have been trying to stop coronavirus from taking out like old and vulnerable people. So yeah, I just tick the box on the form that says I'm going to quarantine, and then I don't quarantine.
But Leo, you do know that ageism is the one thing that you actually become a victim of yourself. And my friend, you are not getting any younger yourself, so you may be that part of that vulnerable kind of.
Sheila, are you threatening him?
I'm 29.
No, not at all. Not at all.
29.
Look at his hairline.
If you had some Regeneron.
Look at his hairline. I'm 29
I know that you're quite close to Trump in sort of beliefs, but I didn't realize he was lending you some Regeneron as well.
Look at that. Look at that hairline. Got it done in Turkey.
Well, actually, seeing as we are here to talk about tweets, that might lend nicely to talking about ageism, actually, because I have got a tweet. I don't know if you got it up there, Julian.
Yeah, somewhere.
Because obviously, one of our colleagues, who's doing very well anyway, Bill Bailey, won Strictly Come Dancing yesterday, and I saw a tweet from, there you go, Leslie Richich, totally uplifting, unexpected, and amazing to see 50-something Bill Bailey win Strictly. To be honest, Maisie and Hervé were better dancers, but we all need a gracious, lovable, older underdog to win sometimes. And I don't know about you, but I really celebrate. I was like, well, why does his age have to be such a thing? I have to say, I was shocked. Like, oh my God, you're getting those moves. That is amazing. You're fitter than I thought, Bill Bailey. Kudos to you.
But they were talking about him like he was nearly dead. They were going, oh my God. They were going, oh my God, the way you move. Oh, it's so good for a 55-year-old. Oh my God, you're doing so well for a 55-year-old. Like 55 is not that old. I mean, he's got both his legs. He could move.
Well, I think we've had this like in performers before, haven't you? Do you remember Madonna when she was touring and it's like, oh my God, shouldn't she just give up now because, you know, she's over the hill? And, you know, fair dues to her. She's dancing, she's going out there. How do you feel about this kind of level of ageism? And is it more directed towards women, towards men? I mean, I thought that was one of my highlights of this year, Bill Bailey winning Strictly, which does also tie with because I thought it was just so refreshing. Or is it that it's the underdog that have we all now become the underdog this last year? And is that what it is? Is that, you know, we're celebrating someone who's like one of us, just a regular guy, but actually happens to be very successful before Strictly?
Well, the other two, Harvey and the other Macy, they were clearly, look, Macy's 19 and Harvey's very young, and it's obvious they can dance, and they were very flexible, and they were brilliant. They were flawless. It was 10s all the way. But I don't think that's what people want. I don't think they want perfection. They wanted spirit and energy. And you know what Bill said about his final dance, which was "The show must go on." He said, you know, this is an anthem of our times. It's really about, we've just got to get up, get through this, and plow on and carry on. And I think that's what Bill did all the way through Strictly. In the first round of Strictly, I think Craig gave him a 3 for one of his first dances. He's got a 3. And then at the end, by the end of it, he was getting 10s. And I think British people especially love that you came from nothing and you made something, you did something great. And you're a middle-aged white man over 50. Oh my God, amazing. You've just done amazing. Whereas Harvey and the other girl, Macy, they were brilliant from the beginning. And I think because of the time we live in, people don't want brilliant. They just want, it'll do. It's good enough. Let's just get through it.
That's what we aim for on Let's Kill Twitter. That is like that is our byline under our byline. So Leo, I take it you are a huge Strictly fan.
No, I don't like dancing. It makes me feel like a Wally.
Oh dear.
I think you'd be quite good on Strictly because if you're quite a tall guy, and I can imagine you doing the Paso Doble really well.
I'm not sure. That sounds like it's made out of tagliatelle. That sounds delicious. But I was actually a professional dancer for a very short period. I was a backing dancer for David Icke. You know, the conspiracy theorist David Icke.
Oh.
So he did a lecture at Wembley Arena, and I was one of the dancers because you know his lectures are like 11 hours long, so he needed to break it up with something. So me and some other people came out and like danced to all this songs, and I did an Irish jig with David Icke as well.
You'd have thought you'd have chosen something like, you know, The Final Countdown by Europe or something like that. You know, some David Icke appropriate music. Hey, if there's anyone out there, let's tweet us some David Icke appropriate music. If you're on Facebook, let us know. And watching us on Facebook, let us know you're there and tweet at LKT Zoom. Let us know you're alive. Should we go? It's a bit of a Bill Bailey special, inevitably. I think there's a few other Bill Bailey tweets, so let's go. Well, actually, one of Shazia's here, I believe.
Yeah, this guy who calls himself Bear Swift. He said that when people are finally allowed to go to weddings again, Bill Bailey has just given all your uncles permission to lose their minds on the dance floor. Like, why are they referring to him as an uncle, a geriatric? You know, he's only 55.
We're all just getting a little bit nervous about that 50 age. It's like, and also, you know, I don't know. One of the things I'm glad about is that the cutoff for this vaccine is like over 50. And it's like, that's made me feel really young. It's like, yes, I don't get it.
I think people looked at the way Bill looks and thought, he can't move. He can't get very far. But he was a really great mover.
I think as we're expecting it to be like the kind of the dud of the group, like they always have one every year.
But that's weird because all the comedians that have been on there have done really well. Chris Ramsey, Susan Calman, Bill Bailey. It's because comedians are so competitive. If they agree to do something, they want to win it. They've got to be the best.
But also, I think people seem to have forgotten that Bill Bailey's a musical comedian, and you kind of sense that he might have had, you know, a good sense of what to do.
Oh, yeah, he played the electric guitar last night.
I think he's a showman.
At the end of his dancing, he played the electric guitar.
That's pretty cool.
No, he's got even cooler by doing that for me.
He's always been creative. Yeah. His dances were really creative.
He's great. It's great. I remember him from
the comedy circuit. Do we take it as a win for when comedians do well? When Davy Jones, like, obviously, you know, did well with his film. Do we celebrate? This is like a question, sort of like, I think I probably know the answer. Do we celebrate our group, our people's success? What would you say, Leo? Do we celebrate, or are we bitter and twisted about like other comedians doing well in the industry?
It's master. Have you frozen, Leo? Or are you really concentrating?
Sorry, I can't hear Shazia. It's very quiet.
Oh, sorry, it might be my mic, but also I am deaf, so I can't hear anything. Yeah, no, I was just going to say, do we actually celebrate our fellow comics' success? Obviously, we're all about Bill Bailey, and we think it's wonderful, and I don't think anybody
Well,
touches that. I remember when Dave
I've got
Jones-
to be honest, like, you know, I used to think comedy, you know, comedians, we're all one big family and we all look out for each other and there's such a sense of solidarity and brotherhood. And then 2020 came along and all of a sudden, like, all the comedians were just making lists of like sexual harassers and stuff like that. And I ended up on most of them, you know what I mean? So I've changed my mind about comedians actually having any sort of solidarity or brotherhood. And also my mate Darius, he had is a whole chunk, a whole bit just wholesale stolen by Kearse and performed on the Jonathan Ross show. And comedians have just, you know, all these comedians that I thought were like really, you know, dependable guys with integrity have just, because they see Kearse, you know, he's with Up the Creek and stuff, so they see that as an opportunity. You know, they want to do that club. They've just thrown Darius under the bus. So yeah, I think there's no solidarity with comedians. I think they're all total little Thatcherite slugs and all looking after themselves. And I'm glad there's no work for them.
So I guess there's no bubbles in the comedy world with you, Leo, right now.
Bubbles.
With that statement, you won't have any after.
There's no bubbles anywhere, are there?
Yeah.
The bubbles in my champagne as I toast the demise of the comedy industry.
Well, I have to say, I kind of think it's the opposite. I felt like there was a lot of like competitors, but during COVID, I think it's become more of a like a level playing field. I mean, what do you think about that, Shazia?
Honestly, I think people have been very supportive in comedy. The thing that we all love has suddenly been taken away from us. And I think that I've done loads of Zoom gigs and spoken to loads of other comedians, and they've been very supportive of each other because that one thing that we share amongst ourselves, the love of comedy, and it's no longer there. We're all devastated. We're all upset that we can't go out and gig. I even miss dying on my ass. That's how much I miss it. I mean, I miss the terrible times. That's how much I love comedy.
That's when you know you're alive.
Like, honestly, I thought of all the awful times I died on my ass, hate mail, death threats, and I miss it. I miss it. I think, God, that's what it was. And it's
That's
not
living. That's living.
That's living.
I have to say that's how this show came about, because Julian actually just not a, you know, it's not just comedians. I think it's just creativity and, you know, writers and that whole industry, the arts. It's like you felt bereft when this past year, and so Julian was, you know, I think you're in the same position, weren't you? I'm pretty sure that's
I'm
how
always
the show
bereft.
came about. Yeah.
Although,
You know,
let's face it, you know, it's 6 months of lockdown. I had to have one idea. There had to be something. And this was it. Well, welcome to my last 6 months. So we started with a bit of a soft shoe shuffle. So let's Leo, why don't you choose one of your tweets? And which one would you like? Shall I scroll the wheel of fortune? You've got Abby's joke.
Yeah, that's quite a good joke.
Yeah. Right. Abby Roberts, well known to most of us, of course, as a fellow comedian for me, but a fellow comedian for you.
Yeah, no, I really like Abby. She's got a lot of heart, and she's a really nice person, and she's sort of, you know, fallen foul of wokeism, I guess, in the arts, because I think there's a real problem with systemic wokeness in the arts and academia and tech. At the moment, so she got into trouble for something she said about, you know, like one of these opinions that, you know, would be the prevailing woke opinion 6 months ago, but now things have moved on, and now you know, like, so Eddie Izzard says he's a woman, and everybody's just got to say he's a woman or whatever. So Abby, you know, as somebody who's born a woman, you know, a biological woman, is sort of you know, has some issues with that, with some of the intractable issues between, like, resolving the rights of the trans community and the rights of women. So yeah, I think this joke is just a perfect little joke. It's like, how many women does it take to change a light bulb? Define women.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, so when you say, so first of all, that systemic wokeness that's the first time I've heard that being used. So that's interesting. That's what you world first, guys. I'll be tweeting that out later. Systemic wokeness. But what were you when you're saying Abby's fallen foul? Was it for a particular? I'm sort of dimly aware of this, but I'm not quite sure of the specifics of
Yeah,
what.
I'm just dimly aware of it as well.
Okay.
But I know she was upset about it, and I know that, you know, whatever she said, it wouldn't have been. I just can't imagine her being that bad. Like, a lot of people get called, you know, racist, Nazi, far right, and everything these days. I get called that several times a day, and I just feel that if Hitler came back, he'd be very disappointed at the caliber of today's Nazis.
But isn't it? I mean, the thing is, this issue is as well. And the joke that that Abby's made. There's a whole issue. One of the biggest and most sort of ferocious debates on Twitter is around trans issues and how people are sort of define them. And you've got various journalists. Suzanne Moore obviously recently left The Guardian. Had a big issue with this, and then subsequently wrote
she's a Nazi.
literally every publication under the sun, which then led lots of people to say, well, if you've been cancelled, this is an interesting version of cancelled because you're literally in the Atlantic and the Telegraph and whatever. But that's just the way it goes with
Yeah,
news.
but you got to remember, most cancellations are soft cancellations, so they happen to people who don't have any profile, like me when I got cancelled from the Perth Fringe, or they just send out. Even I was sitting with my girlfriend, she was making for work, she was making this like Zoom quiz, just a quiz about Christmas movies, and she was like, just going through every question, making sure there was nothing that could offend someone, even the word crook. She thought that could be offensive to someone. And obviously no references to the nativity or anything like that, because it's it's a religious thing, so it could offend someone. And just that stultifying culture that's being, she'll never that her like being worrying about whether the word crook in relation to Home Alone is offensive. That'll never be on the front page of the Daily Mail, but it's seeping through society, this fear of offence. And Suzanne Moore gets the headlines because she's famous, and she's and same with J.K. Rowling, and they're at the sort of size where they're uncancelable, and when it happens to them, it makes them almost more newsworthy, and people want to read their articles more. But for thousands of the rest of us that aren't don't have that level of status and prestige, cancellation genuinely cancels us and costs us money.
Guys, do you want to sort of come in on this? Shazia, Sajila? No? Is that
I was just collecting her thoughts.
I don't know. You say something that you don't know much about, and people can just come down on you like a ton of bricks, really hound you. Like J.K. Rowling is probably a nice person, and I'm sure she didn't say anything with any kind of hatred, but she's been hounded. And there's this hound mentality that somebody says something and everybody else joins in and hounds that person. And a lot of people, they don't even know the ins and outs of what that person has said. They just like that herd mentality. Let's just join in and bully somebody and come down on someone, There's a lot of that. And
I agree. And I don't know, I think that's partly the reason why I wanted to do the show, is to have that middle ground, because sometimes I feel like I can't say what I want to say on Twitter, because in those, few kind of 138 characters, whatever we're allowed now, you cannot get across exactly what you're trying to say. And I think the J.K. Rowling point at hand is quite a good one, that the original, looking back on it at the time, was that she was talking about period poverty, which again is something is highlighting something that's really important, and it's an important issue to address. And then it just kind of spiraled out of the control. And then in the same way, it's like it's the whole debate that you have with the Labour leader. Like, you think, could he have handled this better? Do I think he's anti-Semitic? No, I don't. But
you mean the
I
former
also
Labour leader?
Yeah. But a proper Labour leader, yeah. But because I think, well, people make mistakes, and I think he made mistakes where he could have handled that differently. Could JFK Rowling have handled it? Yes, it could have handled it. But then I just think, well, okay, if somebody is a group of people is getting upset, then perhaps it's up to us to kind of educate ourselves into why they're getting upset, and to kind of change. I know I've had to change my attitudes to things that I didn't understand, but then you have to educate yourself around it. And how can I, someone who belongs in a minority group, protected characteristics, belong under those, turn around and say that this is acceptable when I want some respect. But at the same time, I've also got the comedian head, which is like, you've got to have the freedom of speech, you've got to have freedom of expression, you've got to have, a right to an opinion. And that is really important, to have a right to an opinion, because that is surely what what we're living in the first world does, is that we have that right, which is denied in other countries. But it's like that herd mentality. I agree with Shazia. I kind of think the original point gets lost because there is so much aggression around jumping on someone and just slating them and saying, well, you are this because we say you are, and not hearing what the other side's got to say. However, in these two incidents where J.K. Rowling and obviously Jeremy Corbyn, they did not maybe handle the situation correctly or in the right way, but I don't know what the right way is.
I'm not sure if you can equate. I'm not sure if you can equate the two. I don't really think that J.K. Rowling I don't think she's been responsible for it. She's not been, for a start, she's not in the same position as Jeremy Corbyn was as a Labour Party, who had a certain responsibility to do something, and then took about 1 billion years to approach anything like an apology. I mean, just just incredible, really. I found that. I really did.
But there you go. That's your opinion. But that's the whole point. That's your opinion.
I mean, he has a different role. J.K. Rowling is not answerable to all those people that sort of disagree with her, in the same way that Jeremy Corbyn had a responsibility in his position at the time. And I don't think that there wasn't, obviously a lot of emotion attached to that particular issue. But when it comes to the issue of trans, the scale goes, and you could argue maybe this was true of anti-Semitism, but the scale goes from 0 to 10 as soon as there's a discussion about any aspect of trans, that it's off the charts, and the toxicity of it makes debate impossible. And in that way, I can see that there were some examples that made that debate difficult for what maybe have muddied the waters for anti-Semitism. But at the end of the day, we're talking about someone who just took a long time to apologize for something that was clearly, that was fairly being proved now by a succession of reports.
I think my point is that it's about vilifying someone, and so I think he took the stubborn stance of, well, I'm not anti-Semitic, clearly I'm not, I've been doing all this work, blah, 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 my body work stands for itself, which is slightly an arrogant kind of point of view to take. And perhaps that I shouldn't have mentioned, but what I'm trying to say is that on Twitter, if we're talking about Twitter, we're talking about social media, that opinions have to be there and then in the moment. You have to take your side, you have to pick your side. And I want to bring in Shazia and Leo into that. Do you ever feel in that way, that it's like something big happens that you have to take a side, and therefore that side may be right or wrong, there's no middle ground? Do you feel to Leo first?
Not so much I mean, some issues I'm already on one side, but with something like the trans issue, and reconciling trans rights with women's rights is intractable. J.K. Rowling, one of the things she got in trouble for was talking about domestic violence refuges for women, and how they should be a safe space for biological women. Because at the moment, Eddie Izzard could walk into one of those and be like, I'm a woman, and it's like, well, you are a woman, but also you look like a man, and that's obviously going to be triggering and harmful to the women and children in that refuge. So how do you reconcile the rights of the biological women and the children that have been brutalized in domestic violence? How do you reconcile that with the right of somebody to say, I'm a woman, and we've all now got to say, I mean, Eddie Izzard's a woman now. Her pronouns are she and her, so she's a woman.
Yeah,
But
no, good
I
point.
mean, that can be an absolute thing when you've got domestic violence refuges that, you know, should really be a safe space for biological women.
And Shazia?
You know what you said about taking sides, you know, you feel that you have to take sides. I think, you know, when something happens to our people, or our people do something, then we are always put pressure on to be obliged to take a certain side to defend our people, or to defend women, or to defend Muslims, because that's what we are. And so people expect us to have an opinion on that, expect us to support that, regardless of what that person may have done. And if we don't support them, our own people turn on us, as well as other people. So we get it from everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
They could have blown up a building and then want us to support them. And if we don't support them, they'll go, "You're not Muslim enough."
Yeah.
Well, no, it's got nothing to, we're either not Asian enough, not brown enough, not Muslim enough, or we're a coconut. Like we can't seem to win anyway, because we can't have our own opinion, or we always have to be defending or being on the side of the people we're supposed to represent, even though they might be doing awful things, or we might not agree with what they're saying.
I know.
That leads
I know.
very nicely onto, because I've selected a couple of tweets from Aisa Hazarika, who will be a guest on the show very soon in the new year. There's a couple of things actually that she's tweeted last week that I picked up. So, loving the hypocrisy around people saying that we should junk race and gender as the wrong type of women or people of color have advanced, in inverted commas, obviously. Suddenly they're too posh or too lefty, too right wing, or just not good enough. Funnily enough, this never applies to white men. And
the thing, when you see when somebody like Priti Patel comes along, I mean, you never see Asian women anywhere doing anything apart from maybe reading the news or on Bake Off. But you never really see Muslim women, Asian women anywhere. Then one comes along who's really prominent, like Priti Patel, and she is just awful. And then all of a sudden you just think, shut up.
No,
Why are you? But then Aisha's referring to people like Priti Patel, who are the wrong type of women of color. Because
They're
that's
not-
not,
surely she's referring to the people who are saying, she's referring to the people who think that Priti Patel is wrong.
Yeah.
The wrong type, you know, and she's done it in a very even-handed way, you know, too posh, too lefty, too right wing.
Yeah,
they're all the things that, I mean, in fairness, I don't often say, I don't, you know, I've certainly experienced that when it comes to Priti Patel, in terms of people saying, oh well, she's, you know, she's not one of us. I'm not sure that I've experienced that from the other side, but I assume that exists. I'm not sure if anyone's being criticized for being too lefty to not represent you know, a community, but you know, I think
I don't think it's lefty. We just don't want. We don't.
no, that's what it says on. That's what it says on.
No, as Asian
that's what
women,
it says on the tweet.
No, I don't care. As Asian women, I don't want her represent. I don't women like her to represent us. Am I right, Shazia? That's it. It's just like, no, you fucking left the side down. You have let the side down.
What side? But what? I don't understand that. What? Because you're expecting her to have a particular opinion that mirrors your own opinion.
It's not political. It's cultural. It's like Asian. There's a perception of Asian women that they are subservient, that they are good cooks, they're good wives, they're very dutiful and loyal. And then we get one that's prominent who punches all her staff in the face. And then you think, oh, we don't want that. We don't want that. We'd rather have the other stereotype.
You can't. Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, okay. I mean that
she's such an extreme.
Felt the same way about Thatcher and for women. Yeah.
She's such an extreme version of an Asian woman.
Well, again, you just mentioned Thatcher, and that's kind of, you know, obviously I've just had a bit of revival of Thatcherite stuff. We're watching The Crown, which I've loved, by the way, loved it. And you think, no, she really didn't like women. She didn't want. She found them weak. She was like, she's an alpha female, and in many respects, I feel I am a bit of an alpha female, and so I do get like pissed off with small sort of weaknesses and stuff, but she didn't want other women to succeed. Whereas, you know, my whole thing is like, you've got to bring your sisters behind you, and you know, it's about the sisterhood. So when I don't see that, it really fucks me off. As a woman, I'm just thinking, well, why are you not supporting your sisterhood? Like, we've already got so much shit already. We don't need, you know, the Priti Patels to kind of like diss us, you know, like obviously all our immigration policies come to, there is politics coming into this as well. So it is about being a woman, it is about representation. And you think, like certain feminists, I don't want them speaking for me. They don't speak about me. I don't know. I know Shazia and I have had this conversation many times before. And I don't know if you want to bring in some of the things we've talked about on this, how certain things that, I mean, I don't know what the equivalent for you guys is. So I don't know, for Leo, would it be like another right-wing comedian? Would you feel like he wasn't doing the right thing? I don't know for you, I don't know what the equivalent is, but for me, it's like a woman who doesn't necessarily support the sisterhood, or an Asian person, an Asian woman doesn't, she's pretty shitty. Who's this from? Oh, hello, Palungi.
I've never seen a.
Hello there. We've forgotten our audience. Hello, Eric. Hello, Palungi and Catherine. Hello, and anyone else there who's live streaming right now. Anyway, we should probably get on to the next next tweet. Who's
Yeah, well,
next?
shall I just finish off the Aisha ones as well? She's had a couple of good ones, because this is kind of a bit of a culture war classic, really. So it's Aisha responding to Liz Truss, switching focus from race and gender more towards class. So Aisha's saying, oh good, sarcastically saying, oh good, let's switch the equalities brief away from inequalities because the job is so done on race and gender. Remember Windrush or last week's maternity report? As someone who helped draft Labour's landmark 2010 Equality Act, this is utterly depressing and so wrong. And very quickly, Konstantin Kissin, who was obviously a guest on here not that long ago, replying to Aisha, I think the point is the overfocus on gender and race has given advantages to people who were already doing well instead of lifting up people who were genuinely disadvantaged. Surely we all want to help people who are disadvantaged regardless of race and gender. So I've read the tweets, now you guys can discuss.
Leo?
Yeah, I mean, I think Constantine makes a great point. You know, there's still, I mean, I'd say, obviously, you know, race, gender is a huge amount of, you know, intersectional, immutable characteristics that can cause you to be discriminated against or held back. But I mean, there's some that are ignored. I mean, I've never seen a diversity and representation officer ensuring that they've got enough Brexit voters. You know, there's certain things that they focus on, and there's certain things that we all know are, you know, huge discriminating factors that are completely ignored. So wealth, class, looks is a huge one. You know what I mean?
You mean that beautiful people getting all the breaks?
Yeah, good-looking people. They've done surveys that show that, like, good-looking people, you just waltz into job interviews, you get the job because people want to hang around with good-looking people. So yeah, it's
this is Leo. This is why wearing a mask is so important. Like, come on.
Actually, and what Leo says there about the good-looking people, I don't know if you saw the article in the Daily Mail on Friday about how the Big Fat Quiz of the Year has got no female comedians on its panel, but it has two very attractive women, Stacey Solomon and Maya Jama. But it has male comedians on, Joe Lycett, Jimmy Carr, but it has no female comics. But they replace the female comics with two attractive women. And they do this all the time on panel shows and other debate shows. They'll just get two attractive women in and male comedians, but no female comics.
Yeah.
I thought that was terrible booking. There's a number of people that have made that, but Rachel Paris posted upon it, and Rachel Healy, the journalist as well, which is one of the cheap tweets I was going to choose, but you've covered it really now. And I thought that was very odd booking, because to not have
it's a comedy show for the
female
end
comics.
of the year. What? So you only have male comics on, no female comics.
I mean, I think we all might be agreed on that one. Do you think?
Yeah.
That was just really bad. Big fat zero booking policy.
But the irony is, most of the bookers on that program are women.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I've noticed behind the scenes in comedy, like sort of front of house, like the actual comedians, you know, men are overrepresented, obviously, but behind the scenes, like it's almost all women.
Yeah, but
Someone introduced me to one of the producers and said, "Oh, this is Julie. You should get her on." And she literally looked me up and down around the back like I was like a 3-dimension looking around, and it's just like, and didn't even say a word. And I said, "Oh, it's lovely to meet you." It's really awkward. And it's like, so going back to what Leo was saying about being lookers, it was like she judged me on the way I looked, and it wasn't even, hadn't bothered to ask what I was doing, what kind of comedy I did, or anything relatable to that. It's just I didn't look right, and I felt like really dismissed. And I've been told, I don't know about you, Charles, but I've been told like things that you have to do, that you've got to look right. I won't say who, but someone we've done courses with, maybe some of us, telling us that, you know, at the beginning of the course, oh, girls, you know, the women will judge you. They won't like you in the audience. So try not to look too attractive. I mean, it's terrible. This shit is still happening.
When Leo says about, you know, people that are more attractive get jobs, well, obviously that's happened on this Big Fat Quiz of the Year.
Yes.
But then there's this assumption that if you're a female comic, you're ugly. If you're a female comic, in order to be funny, you must not be attractive. And for a female comic, there's always this thing about looks being attached to being funny, that if you're too good looking, you can't possibly be funny. Or in order to be a successful female comic, you can't be too attractive.
Well, look at
and that doesn't
Ryan.
happen.
There's so many beautiful women that are hilariously funny, but similarly, then there are women that are getting criticised for the way they look. Sarah Millican, do you remember the dress that she wore, that she got criticised for some award ceremony? And she said, "I thought I just had to be funny, and here I am. You know, I thought it was a nice dress, but she was slated for it." We're not there to, like, women or male comics are not there to for the way that we look. We're supposed to, should it be about the way we look? No, it shouldn't. But sorry, Shazia, I cut you off. I didn't mean to.
Well, Shazia, do you think there's, like you said, that the bookers, you know, the bookers of the programs often they're female? Is that in fact, is there a factor in this then?
Well, nobody has to do anything for anyone. Nobody has to book you just because you're a female booker. You must book women. I mean, it shouldn't be that. It should just be whoever is the best person for the job should do it. But the Big Fat Quiz of the Year is a comedy show at the end of the year. Why would you book only male comedians for that and no female comics? It's a comedy show.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're all in agreement that it was a travesty.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, that's like the 1970s or something. Like they came out with, like, the women came out with pom-poms and weren't allowed to speak, you know, and they were referred to as assistants or something. That's so regressive. Even for me, I'm shocked.
Well, see, there we go. You know, unanimous verdict. Okay, who's up next?
Oh, can I take Tien and Dubs?
Yeah, there we go.
It might, just because it's a little bit linked, I suppose. And my response to that, which let me find.
Yeah, it's here as well. Hang on.
Yeah. So Tien basically said, one thing I can say for this year is that it's been really nice to have massively underachieved as per usual, but finally be able to blame something else for it. And I thought that was a beautiful tweet and so perfect, because that's exactly, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I've got a reason not to, that constant, got to do well, you know, and I think I've achieved a lot in a day if I put a bra on or put makeup on for a Zoom. Do you know what I mean? Or even have a shower every day, which I've forgotten to do now. So I just thought that was a wonderful one. And so what about you, Shazia? Do you feel that's like the pressure's off now to kind of constantly be succeeding?
Well, actually, I've never achieved so much in my life. I feel like I've overachieved this year. I've done so much stuff online that I never did before. And I've cleaned the house, which I never used to do. I've never been so clean. And I've done things that I never have done before because I couldn't go out and gig. And I wasn't driving. I wasn't in a hotel. So I did other things. Obviously, I'd rather not have done those things and done live comedy. But I have done stuff that I wouldn't normally do. But that was all right for 3 months. I mean, it's just too much now. I think I need the comedy back.
I think it's been quite productive. Yeah. I think I think a lot of people have used it to sort of do a lot of contemplation, and some people obviously get healthier, some people possibly not. But there was definitely room there to think. Definitely. Leo, what about you? How have you found it?
Yeah, I mean, it gave me a kick up the arse to do more online stuff, like on YouTube and stuff like that. So I'm up to like 6,000 followers on YouTube. I really need to get more consistent. And also, I've moved because there's not been much live comedy. So I've moved into political consultancy. I've been working for, I wrote a chapter of a book for a think tank for the Institute of Economic Affairs. So that's going to be out in a couple of months. And I've been working for the Reclaim Party and for the sort of pro UK movement in Scotland. So yeah, that is busy. That's been like, it's been better paid than and sort of more rewarding than having to drive to Plymouth or whatever to shout dick jokes at people. So I might sort of stay doing that stuff instead of going back to comedy full time when it comes back.
What do you feel like you are Fatima? I mean, you know, are we all Fatima now? Do we all have to retrain?
Well, I used to work in cybersecurity. I worked for Detica, which was a cybersecurity company, and yeah, then I left to do comedy, and then they're like, 5 years later, they're like, you got to go back to cyber again. I don't think the government realised how hard it is to get into cyber. Like, you've got to be vetted. Like, you've got all these levels of vetting. When I left, I was contracted to the Foreign Office and was going through DV vetting, like the top level for. I mean, my office looked down over number 10 Downing Street's garden. You know what I mean? George Osborne's cat used to come into our office and stuff. And you can't just be like, I'm a ballet dancer, but now I want to do cyber. You can't just waltz in like that. It takes like years.
You could waltz. You couldn't get there.
They don't want to know you. You know what I mean? You're tarnished.
That's quite a revelation year, really, for you, actually, I have to say.
Shazia, what would you do if you couldn't do comedy? What would you be doing? I know you were a teacher before, but where could you go now if this was all stopped now?
I think I'd just get married, and just look after my husband like a good Asian woman should.
A good Asian, not like that Priti Patel.
I wouldn't go around beating up my staff or.
Yeah.
You see, you can't do that if you work for yourself anyway. So it's all right.
Honestly, I've been cooking a lot, as I'm sure everybody else has. I'm a really good cook. I probably would just stay at home and cook and stuff and write.
So who's next? I've lost the thread of who wants to jump in with a tweet. I've had more than my fair share, I think. So,
Shazia, have you shared another one? You haven't, have you? Do you want to share?
No. Where are my tweets?
Which one? Let's have a look. Well, there's kind of lockdown one. There's a few more Bill Bailey ones knocking around as well. Oh yeah, this was a great one. This
really made me laugh. She goes, "Hi." This is after Tier 4 lockdown had been announced. She said, "Hi, Waitrose. I've bought a large turkey, but I'd like to swap it for 12 tubs of ice cream instead, and a bottle of gin. Can I do this in store?"
And that's Nicola Keeney, who I think is she ITN, managing editor for news at ITN.
She bought a big turkey, obviously, for Christmas, and now it's not happening. So.
Well, I mean, this is handy because we did start off talking about the Christmas fiasco, but this kind of now can bring us into full force into the Christmas fiasco, because it is just obviously she's making light of a predicament here, but people have planned for Christmas, and that we were warned about it. So, for example, one of the tweets I chose was Ian Dale, political commentator Ian Dale. I'll say it, this is a few days ago now. I'll say it again, the Christmas relaxation is utter madness. And there are plenty more examples of that kind of thing. And it's just like we saw, we could see this coming. Couldn't we see this coming? I mean, everyone here, could we see this coming?
Yeah. Nobody in Britain follows rules. They've got all these. I mean, have you seen the list of rules and regulations around the tier stuff? I opened it. It was like opening a car insurance document. Just pages and pages and pages. Nobody's going to read that. I don't even know what the rules are. I don't even know what tier I'm in, where I am. So I'm going to go see my family at Christmas, and my girlfriend's coming round. And like, if that's against the rules, you're going to have to kick down the door and arrest us. You know what I mean? Nobody in Britain's going to follow these rules. That's why we've still got coronavirus. In China, everybody follows the rules, so they don't have coronavirus anymore. But it's pointless trying to enforce rules on a country that is like, you know, just like diametrically opposed to doing what other people say.
I think that the compliance rate, certainly for the first lockdown, way higher than all the behavioural scientists thought it was going to be, and obviously it's come down. You know, obviously the whole Dominic Cummings incident. I mean, I've got to say though, if I can understand that, but I just think if you've got a sense of sort of personal responsibility, you're not necessarily going to use someone else's bad example as a way to sort of completely not obey the rules. But I think those people who didn't want to obey the rules are not going to obey the rules and probably haven't obeyed them for quite some time. It's just they've got different ways, or the ramifications of them not obeying those rules are different to how they were in the summer. I mean, we were told about the second wave in the winter from quite a few times. Really, we could see that something was going to happen. It's just, sorry, Stu, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we've got a comment from one of our audience saying, Burnley Castle, in fact, government wants to blame us for their actions, which is actually interesting point of view, Erica. So that if we fail, we've had these restrictions put in place. So if we have, an influx of cases, which I'm told by friends who work for the NHS, that the hospitals are absolutely jam-packed at the moment, so they won't be able to cope. There was another wave. That it's our fault because we basically fucked up by seeing our families that we had all planned to go and see at this point. So it's very late in coming. Thank you, Erica, for that comment. But do either of our guests want to come in on that?
Guys, have you got? I mean, in terms of preparedness or what people should be doing, and the whole idea of, is this about personal responsibility? Is it about, more effective leadership, or both?
Will you break the rules? Bottom line is, will you break the rules, Shazia? Would you?
I try not to, but the other week my computer broke, and I went to this computer repair shop in North London. Well, I called them up first and I said, are you open? There was a lockdown at the time. This is about 3 weeks back, before when the other lockdown was happening. And my computer broke. I rang up the computer shop and I said, are you open? Are you doing repairs? And the man said, look, my shutters are down, but call me and I'll come and get your computer from you. Now, I called him up as I approached the shop with my computer and I said, I'm outside. He said, come round the back. So I went round the back and there was a queue of people waiting there with their computers to hand them in. And I thought, okay, his shop is shut, the shutters are down, but he's operating business as usual. There was about 10 people in front of me waiting to hand in their computers and he fixed it for me. And I went back to collect it the next day.
I mean, some of those computers probably have worse things than coronavirus on them as well, to be fair.
Yeah, mine is one of them. But the thing is, okay, the rules are he shouldn't have opened his shop, but I didn't come into contact with anybody while I was there.
Did you actually have to go inside, or did he do it over the counter?
He came out.
Isn't he essentially just doing what cafes are doing?
Yeah.
Having a delivery service. I mean, I actually thought that we weren't in Tier 4 supposed to have any kind of catering things out, but I've seen cafes today still doing an over the counter service or through the window.
I know, I've seen that too. But a computer repair shop is a non-essential. It's a non-essential shop. So
I don't know. You wouldn't think that if you're Matt.
He's obviously guilty to have the shutters down the front and be operating through the back door. He obviously knows it's wrong.
But all he needs to do is sell some milk and some bread. And it's like bingo. Some eggs. Ram, eggs, bacon. It's game on, really.
Oh.
I mean, what do people feel about the the people who sort of bundled for the train last night? I think
Oh God, yeah, those
that's a
images.
hard one. I mean,
But
Dom.
also, Heathrow Airport looked like a nightmare. Where were people flying to?
Well, I think I don't know, back up to Scotland maybe, or yeah, from Heathrow you can fly to Edinburgh anyway, can't you? But I mean, the trains were crazy. Dom Cavendish, the Telegraph writer, said, if I can find what he said, that getting angry about Christmas being cancelled is akin to being annoyed that they've suddenly halted the evening recital on board the Titanic.
So funny.
But it's about preparedness, isn't it? If we were told this maybe on Wednesday, if we were told this last weekend, the mental sort of the psyche for it would be so much better. As I said at the beginning, it's like being told, now we're being told subtly that things may not get out of tier 4 until we've had more vaccinations. So I know that now, and I'm going to plan accordingly. I'm not, I'm not happy about it, but I'm going to plan accordingly for that month, because I think that seems like a very likely thing, and I'm not waiting for someone to announce that. I'm gonna choose to live my life in a way that is ready for that. What I'm trying to say is that I miss the gym as if it was a member of my family. That's what I'm saying. That's the short answer of what I'm saying. I never thought I'd miss it. Well, I don't know what kind of person I've become, but I miss the gym. It's like my second home.
I miss my basic human rights, like freedom of movement, freedom to family life, freedom of travel, freedom of religious worship. I didn't even want to do any religious worship, but now that I'm not allowed to, I want to. These are basic human rights that are enshrined for centuries and took a long time to fight for and achieve. So I think they're there for a reason. And we've just, because of this virus that kills not enough people, frankly, like we've done away with all our human rights. That doesn't sit well with me. I think the state seizes power, introduces new powers quickly, and takes a long time to give them back and put them away. I'm worried about the authoritarianism creeping into politics, and also the public acceptance of it.
I kind of have to say, surprising, I do kind of agree with you a little bit, because that was one of my concerns early on, that if you give up one right, if somebody tries to remove one right from you, that is a really downward spiral to having other rights removed. And so
Yeah.
I find that abhorrent. But that said, I think we did need to act on certain things a lot sooner, and we're in this mess that we're in now, where Christmas is effectively being cancelled, not by the Muslims, Shazia. It's not our people that did it. Yes, finally something we're not responsible for.
Yeah, but the irony is, Sajila, it's all our lot that are dying.
Yeah, but it's our lot that are fighting for Christmas. I had everything planned. We go to my sister's. We finally got fucking Christmas right, and now we have to kind of give up. And I'm like, oh, I'm really resentful about not having to spend time with my Camry.
Except for Sajila in Leicester, they don't seem to give a shit. Leicester has been in lockdown since 1982, and they don't give a shit about it. Like in Manchester and Liverpool, there were protests when they went into lockdown. Leicester is like, we don't give a shit, we've got all the chapati flour and basmati rice in the cellar. We don't need to leave, and we don't need people coming in. They've carried on as normal.
I know.
I think this is when it's all over. It's going to be like the guy out in the forest. Leicester is basically the guy in the forest in Russia that didn't realize Stalin had fallen for power and the war was over. They're just still going to be in lockdown when we're all out.
I think people have got used to it. They're quite enjoying it now.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, no. Going back to a serious note of losing human rights. Absolutely. We mustn't. I mean, this is the whole thing. This last 9 months, we are missing our way of being, things that we took for granted. And with that, let's go swiftly into my tweet about the best things of 20, because we can't have the last year of the year and not talk about your favorite your positives. We know all the negative stuff that's been happening this year. We know every single person on the planet, their mental health has been affected. If you say no, you are lying, because this has been huge. But can we focus on the positives this year? I don't know who's. I think it was the Metro. There you go.
It was Metro.
It's been a tough year for everyone, but let's remember the positives. So with that, what have you learned, and what's your positive this year that you've learned? I think let's try and ask that from Leo.
I quite enjoyed being like I spent the first lockdown in Australia, and I quite enjoyed just like not having anything to do, and going to the beach and going to the hills every day. There wasn't really it wasn't the same kind of lockdown in Western Australia because it's so sparsely populated that, you know, I mean, you've got to drive for about 220 miles to give coronavirus to someone. So, you know, it was pretty much business as usual, or no business as usual. It was just really nice, just running on the beach every day. It felt good to not be just chasing the next thing in your calendar.
About you, Shazia?
Being on the road and on tour and everything, it is stressful, staying in hotels, always traveling. And what I found in the first lockdown is that my hair and nails really grew long. And honestly, I've never looked so good, considering, I wasn't going to the gym, I wasn't doing Pilates. I normally go swimming every day. There was no swimming. And my hair and my nails grew back. And I think it's because I wasn't that stressed, traveling, gigging, going up and down the country, staying in hotels. I think I just started to look better again. I mean, I've got more hairy, and that was a big problem. But the thing is, apart from that, I think my health got better. I felt better.
Brilliant. And guys, Erica, Vladimir and Catherine, do please add your positives this year into the chat. Let us know what your positives. What about you, Julian?
Yeah, I don't know. I was listening to everyone else, and I mean, I think it's that distance, having some distance to kind of contemplate certain things, maybe letting ideas and projects kind of germinate, which has been good. Actually discovering that I didn't need to, I mean, I barely need to go to a hairdresser at the best of times, but I discovered clippers. So I'm well chuffed with that. I mean, I've just become the economy's worst nightmare. I'm basically just like, why should I spend on this anymore? It's like, I'm going to take my coffee in a flask and do X, Y, and Z, because it just, got to the point where there was nothing open to do all these things. So you basically had to do it all yourself. I mean, I was pretty much expert on, not getting out in the human race anyway. So I was sort of, this crisis was just made for me, really. Had my name all over it. It's like, what? An extension of my life that already is,
And a question for all of you, and for those who are following us as well. What's the thing that you miss the most in the last 9 months? What have you missed the most? Going down the other way around, Julian, first of you,
what have I missed the most?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have to say and reluctantly admit that I have missed people. I mean, I have noticed there is even as an introvert, you've got a recommended daily allowance of other people. You've got to do it. You've got to power up. You can't just live in a box all the time. I mean, I've tried it, but yeah, I mean, it's true. You need proper interactivity, and this is, I think this is going to make me a lot more grateful for those things that I was doing just before this all hit.
One of our viewers there said she's really missing travel.
Yeah,
I concur with that. And obviously Leo's still traveling. What about you, Shazi? What's the one thing that you've missed the most in the last 9 months?
I've missed the sound of laughter. I used to hear laughter every night. Either watching comedians or just being at a gig, and that sound of collective laughter, I haven't heard it for 9 months, 10 months, and I miss it.
No, I hear you. What about you, Leo? The one thing that you've missed the most?
Yeah, same as Shazia. Really like the sort of just the atmosphere you get in a Ram gig, because I've been doing gigs between the lockdowns, and like they're fun. I mean, some of them are really fun, but I mean, like Top Secret, maybe it's my favorite club, and they've got like perspex sheets between the rows, and they've got like fewer people in there. So even though it's still fun, it's a different experience to when it was just absolutely rammed and like there's no perspex and everyone's just free to make as much noise and be as free and not wear a mask and all the rest of it. So yeah, I've missed that atmosphere. It's still been fun gigging, but I've really missed the real sort of roaring pits of like. That's the sort of thing you only really get at comedy. Those sort of roar when it's just like a crucible of like fun.
but also that close proximity to people, because I was thinking the first club that I ran was my favourites because it was a tiny room, everybody's jam packed in there, close together, and that creates so much unity and like togetherness that we're all in it for the same thing. And our rooms have always been good, and there is a perfect way as a promoter, there's a perfect way to set a room up, and it is the closer the people are together the better, because we're all in the same sort of like zone, as it were. And I don't know if that's changed forever now since, you know, COVID, but take away from comedy, just regular life, that close proximity in pubs, in bars, in restaurants, you know, just everyday chatting in cars, in backstage, you know, if you're shopping, it's all of that where you're now kind of, you know, you're viewing every person around you like a bullet, you know, with your name on it. And that, I think, is the saddest thing that I've missed probably the most, is like that closeness to each other in close proximity, not the 2 meters. I'm very tactile, I'm huggy, and, you know, I miss all of that. Oh, here you go. Tian and Doobs just asked why we've mentioned him in a tweet.
Yeah, we'll tell him afterwards, and then he can spread the word. What about audience? Does anyone? I don't know if anyone in the audience has got either a life lesson from lockdown, or maybe a tweet that they wanted to share. I don't know if you guys have, and if anyone on Facebook can hear us in the parallel universe, you can tweet us. Anyone in the Zoom room can put it on chat.
I don't know if you can tell how people are listening in on but it's recorded anyway, so we're going to send it out there. So from being fluffy and kind of, you know, almost nostalgic for what we have missed, let's take a tweet from someone else that might want to jump in, that might be appropriate right now, or just want to change the subject completely. Either of you guys have got anything that you'd like to share?
Leo, you've not had that many.
Yeah, Leo's only had one. Bless him.
I can't remember what mine were.
COVID passports.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hang on, let's find that one.
I think we've covered that though. The sort of loss of
really.
civil liberties.
There's says COVID passport, Fox on football, AOC, the porn one, and Rishi savings. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, Rishi.
Oh yeah, I love
like
that
telling,
one. I love
telling all the people, because this is the thing, like, you know, obviously for comedians and people who are self-employed, like, you know, lockdown has been devastating because we're not earning the money, and also we're comedians. We chose something we want to do. It's not like a job where you sort of have to go and turn up and sit there.
Sorry. Oh, spider. Oh.
Only live entertainment.
It's horrible. It was crawling on me. It was horrible.
Oh no, we're gonna have to rate this like X-rated now. Oh my god.
Sorry.
How big was it?
Okay, so can we read this tweet out? It was a spider crawling on my hand. Just as you talked about Rishi.
Money spider.
The money spider, yeah. Yeah, exclusive. What was? Can we read out the tweet that
It's Christopher Hope. He's the chief political correspondent at the Telegraph.
Yeah,
and
he's. Do you want to read it, Leo?
Yeah. So home workers who built up savings must go on spending spree when pandemic ends. Rishi Sunak says. I don't know how he's going to force people to go and spend their money. I mean, it's a bit communist era. Like, we're going to have people at gunpoint being forced to spend their money. But yeah, like, I mean, this is the thing. A lot of people have done very well out of lockdown. If you've got a proper job, like my girlfriend's got a proper job, she's a civil servant, and so for her, she, you know, wakes up, instead of having to get up early and, like, you know, and go into work and do work, she just wakes up, turns on her laptop, goes has another snooze, just has to twitch the mouse pad so that it logs her as being active on the laptop. So some people are loving it. Like, my car got impounded, and I went along and spoke to the DVLA woman, and she said she absolutely loved lockdown because she didn't have to come into work. Whereas for me, you know, Shazia, other comedians, we hate it because we want to work, and also we don't get money if we don't work. So yeah, like, I think some people have, you know, saved up all this money. That's the other thing. I thought, at least I'm going to be able to afford a flat in London. After all this, I'm going to be able to afford a flat in London. But no, they're still going up because nobody can spend their money on anything else. So the only thing they're saving all this money, and flats are getting more expensive, even during a pandemic that's making London a hellhole. I mean, London house prices, I don't know what it's going to take. Like, there could be a nuclear strike on London and house prices would still go up. I don't know how it works.
But how?
Well, if
I
there
just
is,
want to
we'll
know
know
how
who's
we,
responsible. But yeah.
are you saving money? This is the thing. It's like this money that Rishi thinks we've saved. I mean, you know, I'm saving it for the next lockdown, or when when it's for our own survival. I don't know how much money he thinks we're all saving that we should be. I mean, I've not been buying anything unnecessarily. That's want to be one of the positives. I don't feel like I've had to buy anything unnecessarily. Definitely not one item of clothing this whole year. There's so much more that we don't need to have, which has been a really refreshing thing. I've re-condoed my place. But are you saving money, guys? Are you saving money in this, in the last 9 months, more than you would have done any other time?
Yeah, I'm now, because I thought I was going to be so poor that like now I'm staying for free in a flat, like my mate's flat, because his tenants, as soon as the coronavirus thing came in, they stopped paying rent and stuff. So they stopped paying rent and they started squatting. So so I'm staying for free in that flat to make sure they don't move back in. So I'm saving money on rent. And yeah, like I thought I was going to be super poor, so I totally cut down all my spending and stuff. And then I suddenly got all this work, near the end of the year. So that's been great. Suddenly, I'm living like a total, like a student, and then earning money again.
I totally get this. I totally get it. I didn't realize how much. I very quickly read this tweet earlier, and I hadn't realized the resonance, because obviously I've just been going on about how I bought some clippers. So my hairdresser's gone, and I'm taking my coffee out and all the rest of it. And what he's basically saying to people like me is, well, no, actually, Julian, go back to the hairdresser and get your coffees out and have your brunches out and all the rest of it. And I sort of do feel some, especially because some of the local businesses, I do feel some, responsibility to that. And I'm sure that when we're in a more normal age, I might feel more inclined to do that. But we've been so used to adopting the brace position. That's going to be quite a hard habit to lose, really. What about you, Shazia?
Well, I have been spending in the middle of the night on eBay. I just, in the middle of the night, I just think of things that I want and I go online and buy them.
on eBay rather than Amazon, then?
Like, I have been on all kinds. I bought a set of saucepans the other day, which I don't need, but I just like them. Bought a new kettle, don't need it. I've just bought some curling tongs. I mean, like the
generation game.
It's really no, I didn't do the microwave oven. I don't use the microwave oven, but it's really weird. Like in the middle of the night, I'll just go on a spending spree, and I just love it that it comes to your door. It's like Christmas every day.
That's a great point, because I'm glad you said that, because I do get a lot of stuff from Amazon. I admit that I do, but that isn't going to put any money back into the economy because they don't pay their taxes.
I know.
Rishi, I know Rishi's knocking on the wrong door, isn't he?
Yeah, everything I want is on Amazon. I'm sorry, it is.
What made you pick this, Leo? I mean, what how? I mean, it's a great. I really like this one because it was just so silly. I mean, is it part of another silly thing to suggest by our politicians?
I think I mean, for me, it comes down to the fact that the government's response, the government's sort of cash injection into society to help us deal with coronavirus has been very unevenly distributed. So people who got like normal jobs, who get put on furlough, get put on 80% of their salary, which can be, if you got a proper job. When I had a proper job, it was a tasty salary. I would have loved. Oh my god, I could have months not doing it and get 80% of my salary. That'd be the fucking dream. You know what I mean? If I'd known this was coming, I would have totally stayed in my job. And so the difference between, and then comedians are getting, we're getting like a sliver of our tax return. And obviously we're comedians. We don't, I'm laughing when I fill in my tax return. So we didn't get the same sort of cash injection. And also the government saying, oh, now people who've built up lots of savings have to go and spend it. How are you going to make them do that? You can't like force somebody to spend their money. I think a lot of people are going to be, that have saved up lots of money, are going to be like opening pubs and things, opening cafes, and realizing that having a proper job is actually a lot easier than following your dream and being self-employed.
I mean,
Wish I still had a proper job.
I've just realised that this venture is splash out to help out, essentially, because that's what he wants, you know. And there are people that would have gone to restaurants on a regular basis that, you know, who probably can afford to kind of inject that money back in the economy. I mean, you know, he's got a point. I don't think it's that silly, but I think it might be a bit naive to expect some of us in certain thresholds to suddenly be going out and like spaffing our cash, you know.
Well,
Can I because we're getting close to time now, and I
finish on
wondered
time.
whether
I was gonna say.
one light note to end on could be, if I can find it. Oh, here it is. Lovely. This was yesterday. Very quickly, a guy called Matt Toddington. The scene from the scene from Scrooge or A Christmas Carol. I can't even remember what the film, but it's Alistair Sim.
Carol.
And obviously the line is in the film, "You boy, what day is it?" And of course it's Christmas Day, and it's just, "You boy, what year is this?" Which you know, it's a valid question every couple of weeks, isn't it? It's a lovely one, that.
Well, it has been a good one, really good fun. Thank you so much.
It has. It's been
Mirza
fantastic.
and Leo Kearse for joining us today. I'm actually, when I get off this call, going to be returning all the Christmas presents that I bought and then buying them again in the January sale. So therefore, giving Christy what he wants. And therefore, spending in the new year when all the things have gone on sale. And I was just want to say thank you to our guests as well. Do you want to give them a big call out, Julian?
To our guests,
yes,
or to our audience.
Our audience, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just saying thanks so much. Thanks, thanks very much for everyone who came. If there's anyone out there on the Facebook Live, please follow us on Twitter at LKT Zoom, and look out for announcements for the next show, which we'll be putting out in the next couple of days. But yeah, Shazia and Leo, that was really, really good. I really enjoyed that. I mean, it was a lovely
conversation. Yeah,
we could easily have had a whole show on, you know, just one or two of those tweets, to be honest. What are you guys up to? What can you plug?
My tour is going to start in January, February, March, April, May. I don't know. It's going to be next year, though.
Yeah, the tour, that's Coconut. Yeah, that will be. Well, I mean, when do you reckon? Do you reckon in April?
Well, I've got dates for January, February, and March. What do you think? What do you think?
I don't think January. I mean, I guess it depends where it is, where the dates are. But
Finchley Arts Depot is one.
Okay, so that's a no then.
Well.
Is it a no?
Well, my betting is we're still going to be in tier 4 or
Really?
Or tier 3.
It's already been cancelled twice, and it was a socially distanced gig as well. But you think no?
I think no. Well, yeah, but I could be wrong. We might have to take some bets. Maybe that's a way of raising money, Sajila. We'll just start a book.
I know. I think people are just zoomed out there. You know, if we'd started this at the beginning of lockdown, it would have been a different thing. But people are just, no more fucking online shit.
Well, I mean, we've opened up a new frontier today, and we can stream again. And you know, Leo, what about you, Leo? Have you got anything in the diary at all? Zoom or otherwise?
I'm doing Times Radio with Jeff Norcott on New Year's Eve. So that
cool.
But yeah, people want to follow my YouTube. That's good because then I make money off that. I like money.
Can I just say something, Leo? Like you right-wing comedians, well, basically, I lost a gig, and they said, "Oh no, we decided to go with someone else," and it was you, right? And I was like, "Bloody right-wing comedians coming over here, taking my influence jobs." Because, like, you know,
all two of them.
Yeah, because we've been called in as the diverse voice on the radio programs, and it's like it's the right way. I'm losing gigs to right-wing comedians because they are the diverse voice.
Yeah, this is the only way. As a straight white man, this is the only way I could make myself give myself just that little edge so I get booked. You know what I mean?
I did think it was pretty funny the other week when there was that report on, it was a slightly spurious report, but there was the whole 75% of comedians are liberals, and then they published this list of acts who would be recommended to book to balance things up, and it's like, wow, that's my Edinburgh roster from about 2 years ago. Where would you be without me, guys? Don't answer that. Don't answer
Yeah,
that.
this was Julian telling us, like, look, just get rid of the ethnic thing. Look, forget the Scottish thing, Leo. What you want to do is be right wing, and that's going to get you like loads of stage time, loads of TV work.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
Who knew being right wing is a new black? Who knew? But yeah, we are kind of come to an end, really, haven't we, Julian? Are we going to be back? When are we going to be back, Julian?
We are going to be back on January. This is like a test, so that I've remembered. January the 3rd at 8 o'clock again on Zoom, on Facebook, maybe on YouTube as well. And that will be with Suze Kempner and Rosie Jones. And we'll be tweeting about that after we thank these guys for their hard efforts.
No, it's been a real joy, guys. Honestly, I've really had fun with you guys. I hope you got something out of it too. Thank you so much, Leo, Kearse, and Shazia and Mirza.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks
Guys, thanks so much, and tweet us with whatever you're doing as well, and we'll make sure we retweet it, etc.
Okay,
thanks,
you.
guys, and thank you,
Christmas.
audience.
Have a lovely Christmas, and thank you, Erica, for linking the audience out there. Thank you, doing Deaf
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
There's Hans Christmas.
Bye.